Hello everyone and welcome to our new live webcast, IP Protection for Siemens TIA Portal. Join us each month for new powerful messages, technical tips, and success stories that will leave you inspired and ready to get your protection, licensing, and security techniques another step closer to perfection. At WIBU-SYSTEMS, we empower software publishers and intelligent device manufacturers with cutting-edge technologies, new business models, and tailored consulting training. Let us help you upgrade, optimize, and automate your entire license lifecycle management so you can focus on monetizing your business at a higher level. My name is Daniela Previtali, Global Marketing Director of WIBU-SYSTEMS, and I am delighted to have you here with us today. We are joined by Stefan Bamberg, Senior Key Account and Partner Manager, and Rüdiger Kügler, VP Sales and Security Expert, both from the headquarters of WIBU-SYSTEMS. When you invest in Siemens TIA Portal, you also want to safeguard your applications for Siemens PLC and HMI with a higher gear. CodeMeter License Central is the gateway between CodeMeter Keyring Password Manager, the user, password, and entitlement management tool, and CodeMeter Keyring for TIA Portal, Password Provider, the component that bridges CodeMeter with the TIA Portal. You can then assign clear roles to your team members, protect the IP of your projects, and control user access with a hardware-based solution, CM Dongle. Some housekeeping we need to take care of before we start. For everyone who's joining us today, I want to remind you that we will be reserving some time at the end of the session for Q&A, and I'd like to invite you to submit any question you have in the live chat box. This session is being recorded, and a link to the replay will be posted directly to you in the next couple of days. And don't forget, stay with us throughout the live session for your chance to win an Amazon coupon worth €50. At the end of the webinar, a new tab in your browser with 3 simple quiz questions will show up. You can submit one choice for each multiple answer question. We will draw the winner from among those who replied correctly and notify them at the time of the replay announcement. Please also note that the winner is excluded from all subsequent prize draws of 2019. Without further ado, I'll pass things over to Stefan. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Stefan Bamberg. I also want to welcome you to our webinar for IP protection for Siemens TIA Portal. We want to show you today, my colleague Rüdiger Kügler and me, how you can use the CodeMeter keyring for the TIA Portal to perform the IP protection for that. So let's have a short introduction first. So in the industrial field, you have a lot of challenges concerning security. The first of all is the protection on the left side. So you want to protect your intellectual property that for what you have invested a lot of money to develop applications, to develop algorithms, and you want to make sure that nobody else is using that for free. So that's the protection of the intellectual property. And of course, the reverse engineering is something that is also very important because you don't want to have your application reverse engineered by someone who is not authorized for that. Of course, the protection against piracy is an important point if you want to sell functionalities of your devices, which was not usual 10 years before, but today this is a really interesting topic for a lot of companies. And that leads us to the second column, licensing. So you also want to have a revenue for the software that you have invented, that you have developed for a device. Even if you sell a very expensive device, you want to make sure today, a lot of companies want that, to have also a revenue for the software. Maybe you have a basic version for free, but you can add additional functionalities for charge, and that leads to the flexible license models that you can use with the technology of WIBU-SYSTEMS. But then you have to take care of the license entitlement management. So if you use dongles on the one side or plain software licenses called CMX licenses in CodeMeter, you have to make sure that these licenses will find the way to your customers, and that needs a solution for that. And if you are a large company, you want to make sure that all the orders that came in or come in will be processed in the back office system. That can be a SAP system, that can be a Salesforce system. And so we need a connection from the license entitlement management to the back office integration, to the system for the back office integration. And last but not least, we have the part security, very important part. So integrity protection is very important. Encryption of data, signing and checking signatures of data to make sure that data is not tampered, is not checked through the communication channel. And that is something that can also be performed with the encryption and signing of CodeMeter. And last but not least, authentication management means no unauthorized people shall have access to source code or to data from a system that they are not allowed to have contact to. So these three columns are very important, and the content protection, that is the topic for today, is also touched by all these three columns. And let's see what content really is.
Yeah, hello also from my side. My name is Rüdiger Kügler, and I joined WIBU-SYSTEMS in 2003, and I'm responsible for sales and professional services. And what Stefan told you was something especially made for software developers, for ISVs, independent software vendors, who want to protect their intellectual property against piracy, who want to license their software, offer different license models, something like this. Focus of today is the protection of the content, so of the things that which the user of your software will produce with your software. So this is typically something, for instance, like blueprints at embroidery machines. So as I told you, I joined WIBU in 2003, and at this time we had a new project called PaidFair, and in this project the idea was that we have a partner in Germany, ZSK Stickmaschinen, so they are preparing or building, selling these embroidery machines, and they are selling this to huge textile companies, Adidas, Nike, and so on, and they are embroidering T-shirts, caps, shoes, shirts, something like this, with some logos. And maybe they say, okay, let's have 50,000 of the Patriots and 20,000 caps from the Rams, something like this. And so they want to produce this. So typically they produce these caps and shirts somewhere in Asia, maybe Bangladesh, Pakistan. So these are typically countries where this work is done. So and then of course they want to make sure that the blueprint with which the embroidery is made should not get into the wrong hands. And so only their contractor, their supplier, which produces the caps, only they should be able to use this original blueprint to embroider the caps in the right way. So this is one of the things that they want to use for the protection of their intellectual property, of their content. And the other thing is what happens if they produce more. So let's say you want to have 50,000 from the Patriots, and then they produce 60,000 or they produce 100,000, and then they take these caps and sell them on themselves. And the thing is that these caps are exact one-to-one copies of the original cap. So there's no difference. It's the same machine, it's the same blueprint, the same material, and so nobody can find out, oh, this is a pirate copy or this is really an original. And so they also want to control the number of embroidered logos on the caps, on the shoes, and so on. So this was the first appearance or the first project I had here at WIBU-SYSTEMS. In the meantime, there were more projects about content protection. For instance, companies who are producing big machines and they want to protect their service documents, PDF documents. It was also a very nice project here. And the very current success story is are 3D printers. And so let's assume you are manufacturing some kitchens. So you're a kitchen manufacturer and you have some small spare parts that you want to sell to your kitchen. And let's assume Stefan has purchased such a kitchen 15 years ago. So now he says, oh, one of the spare part is broken. So one of the handle is no longer there. I need to have a new handle. And where can I buy one? So, and currently you have to have all different types of the spare parts on stock. You need to have them worldwide on stock. Stefan needs to find the right one. He needs to order it. This takes time. It takes money on both sides. And in the future, the idea is to say, hey, we sell you the blueprint, and then Stefan can go to a copy shop. And in the copy shop, they will just print it out, one of the spare parts. He will go home and he have it. And so Stefan gets it just in time, so gets it for faster, he gets it for less money, and the manufacturer will still earn some money with selling the blueprint. And also here we have exactly the same stuff. We want to protect the intellectual property because they want to earn money with the spare parts. So they, as a kitchen manufacturer, you don't want to say, oh, it's for free and everyone can print my spare parts. You want to earn money. That's why you want to sell the blueprints, and you want to control the amount of usages of this blueprint. And so these are some samples where the owner of the intellectual property, the owner of the logo, or the owner of this spare part design, how they want to earn money with new license models, with new business models, which means protecting the blueprint. And also very interesting and completely different thing, technically the same, but from the use case completely different. Let's assume the US Army is located in Afghanistan, and they need spare parts for their guns. And so one idea could be go to a local shop and print a spare part of the gun locally. In this case, it's not about intellectual property and about selling licenses for printing the spare parts. In this case, it's more protection against that the one who does this work should not be able to reproduce the gun. So maybe he prints this spare part and this spare part, and after half a year, he can reproduce the gun. And this is something that, of course, nobody wants. And so here the protection of this intellectual property comes to a complete different level. So these are three use cases, and the same things apply for source code for PLCs, and especially for Siemens PLCs. And this is the use case where Stefan can tell you more.
Yes, and by the way, the automotive industry is, of course, also highly interested to print spare parts for their production sites to make it independent from the logistic waste. So this is very interesting as well. But there's another definition of content, and this is a definition that leads us in the direction of the engineering software for embedded devices. And if someone implements the software for an embedded device, for example, following the IEC 61131 standard, he uses organizational blocks, for example, to build the software, function blocks, functions, data blocks, and so on. And some of these blocks could be interesting to protect against illegal access or against viewing the source code. And of course, programming data and device parameters are also very interesting. And that is the point where the TIA portal, Siemens TIA portal, has a protection, a content protection functionality that we want to see later, even live. But before we start that, let's have a look to the top 10 threats to machines and plant engineering. From the German VDMA, it's the device association, the German Association for Machines and Devices. And they conducted a survey in the year 2017, and I'm pretty sure it has not changed very much. So you see the first point is human misconduct and sabotage. The second one is infiltrating malicious code into machines and plants. Third one is technical misconduct. We see the online attacks via Office Enterprise networks. The fifth one, again, an interesting point under the topic of the content protection, is unauthorized access to resources. We see attacks on network components, and even the 7.1 is unauthorized use via remote maintenance access. And the one that are shown in bold are directly connected to content protection. If you protect the content on a machine, you have no possibility to change, for example, the source code. So human misconduct and sabotage is not longer possible, at least for this part of the source code that you have protected. And so you can do a lot of important things against these threats to be not a victim of one of these threats. So that leads to the point, why to protect content?
Yeah, and here we have 4 different things. On one hand, we have tamper protection. So tamper protection means protect software and data and content against manipulation. So an unauthorized person should not be able to change the content of a file, to change a signature, a document, something. So tamper protection means not changing something. Liability problems. So for instance, let's assume that you have a windcraft plant, and you're using such a windcraft machine, and you want to produce more energy. And that's why you say, oh, the specification said I should let's turn it with this and this rounds per minute, but I will pimp it, tune it, and I will make it more performant to get more energy. The problem is that if you use this beyond the specification, the system could fail earlier, maintenance could be needed earlier, and so it's a liability and guarantee problem for the manufacturer of the device, because he needs to do maintenance earlier or has some problems with this. And so also here the challenge is to make sure that nobody can change parameters beyond their specification. The third thing, something I already mentioned when I told, let's imagine we are a kitchen manufacturer. I have my spare parts and I want to sell my spare parts. So I want to have this service business or this spare part business, and the same for my technicians when they go outside and they repair something, do some maintenance work, and I want to do this. So I want to earn money with this. So I don't want to allow that other service technicians could do some repair work, and so I don't give them access to my service software, to my documentation, and so on. Or if I need to do this due to legal reasons, yes, there are some things in the European Union where you are enforced that you need to open this to third-party companies, and in this case, you can say, oh, I'm entitled to open this, I need to open this, but I don't need to open this for free. So if you want to do some service on my machines, you have to need a certificate, you need to book a course from me, and then you need to have this certification. The certification is not for free, it's not forever. And so you want to make sure that your service business at least is not hindered by some non-authorized service technicians. And last but not least, the quantity check, so that nobody can produce more pieces than he is allowed to produce, so that you count at least the amount of produced pieces on a really trustable counter, so that you know how many pieces were really produced on this machine or at this plant.
Yes, and one amendment from my side. So liability problems can also cause a hurt of your brand. So even if there are no liability issues, the brand can be damaged by problems in the productions on the production side, just by changing parameters from non-authorized people. And on the other hand, your service business, if you have certified service technicians, you keep the service business in your hands. There is no additional company doing that, which is not certified by you. So let's have a closer look to the content protection using the Siemens totally integrated automation portal, the short TIA portal. So this is the engineering software from Siemens that support several platforms. You see here the step 7, WinCC, Dynamics Smart Drive, CMO Code ES, and CMotion Scout TIA. So this is a engineering software covering most of their platforms. And since years, they know about the challenge with the content protection, and so they support the content protection from the beginning. And this engineering software is used, and let's have the complete picture in mind, is used later on by the PLC, by the machine builder, but the PLC manufacturer, in this case Siemens, they created a PLC, or programmable logic controller. They have the engineering software, the TIA portal, mainly under Windows, and the machine builder at the end has developers that create the software for PLC. So they created software, they have data, and so they build up a complete machine package with the hardware. Here's some robots as an example, and the software, the controlling software for the robots. And at the end of the chain there's the machine user that uses the PLC with the software and data on it, and maybe there is a need for an access of service technicians. But you see, by standard, the software and the data is open, so anyone else can also have access to that. So what Siemens is offering since the version 14 of the TIA portal is a new password handling. So up to the version 14, they support plain text passwords that has to be entered manually via keyboard only. But you know, passwords have some problems and challenges. Maybe Rüdiger, you can tell us a little bit more about the passwords.
Passwords are not that bad. So if they are used in a proper way, meaning you use them as a seed for a cryptographic function, then you're taking hash function and use this as a key, and then you do some encryption, decryption with this created key derived from the password, then it's not that bad. But the problem is the human who is using the password. And so typically passwords are too short because the human wants to remember the password, and so he chooses a very easy and simple password: name of his friend, name of his wife, husband, cat, dog, birth date, combination of the things. And so it's maybe easy to brute force. So if you have a very short password, then an attacker could just try every password, which is called a brute force attack. And so they could try to guess it, or they could find out, oh, let's try the name of the wife. So Stefan's wife is named, and that's why I will enter the name, and oh, voila, I'm logged in, something like this. And so this is one of the big risks of a password, that the human is choosing a bad password. By the way, just 1.5 years ago, Bill Burr from NIST told that his recommendation in 2003, where he told, oh, the password should be very complex. So it should have a big letter, a small letter, a number, some special characters, and a combination of all this together. In 2017, he said, oh, this is wrong. It should be better to have a long password, and don't use such different letters. Only size matters. So you have a long password, then it's better than a short password, and especially there's a psychologically effect. So if you need to remember a password, then you try to make it easier. If you need to change the password every 90 days, what he also said was a very bad recommendation, then users will have similar passwords, so like CodeMeter 1, CodeMeter 2, CodeMeter 3, and of course such patterns will make it easier to break a password. And so he said today only size matters. And so, but if you go back to the other weak points of a password, so when Stefan enters a password somewhere, he needs to enter it on the keyboard. And let's assume, so I'm standing just behind him and I'm looking what he types, and then I can guess or I can see the password because he needs to enter it on a public available keyboard. Or let's say I'm at in the field and I'm standing in the plant and I want to do the repair work on the machine, but I don't have the password. So I will call Stefan and say, hey, Stefan, I have the problem. I'm standing here. I need the password. Please, can you tell me the password? And Stefan will do. But at the end, now I know the password. And it's hard for me to forget the password. As soon as we don't have this Blitzdings from Men in Black, so where you can just click and the people will forget the last X seconds or minutes. As long as we don't have this technology, and I hope we will never have it, as long as this, if you reveal the password is available for someone else. And so these are the problems with passwords. So the problems are typically created by humans and used by humans in a very unsecure way. And so the best way would be to have a key or a password which the user cannot choose, which is secure by its length automatically, and which the user cannot reveal because it doesn't see the password. And I guess we made something together with Siemens which does exactly this what is a good idea.
Yes, with the version 14 of the TIA portal, Siemens added an additional password API that allows third-party companies to bring in a very good solution. And that's exactly what we have done with our CodeMeter keyring for TIA portal. So what Rüdiger says before, we have an automatic creation of a password, making it in the best way you can use it. Nobody knows it because it is secure, stored in a dongle, and it does not leave the dongle as long as you have it in your hand. So no possibility to know the password, to write it down, to shout it out to other people. And there is another solution for an easy delivery of the passwords worldwide, to make sure that a service technician that is on the other side of the world is able to get a password if he needs it on a certain device of a customer. So the passwords are secured in the best way you can do it using the password API. Of course, Siemens still supports the plain text passwords, but there is now with the WIBU-SYSTEMS solution, and we are the first one that's supporting the password API in the best way that is needed for secure passwords. Siemens also offers some options for the passwords. So passwords can be restricted. Restriction means you are not allowed to change a password of a certain functional block, for example. If there is a password set by a developer, then the service technician is not allowed, if the restriction prevent passwords change is set, to change a password, an existing password. And in addition, there's a restriction to prevent password removal. That means if the developer has set a password on a functional block, if you have the restriction, prevent password removal, you are not allowed to delete that password, just to make sure that nobody deletes unauthorized a password from such a functional block. In addition to that, since the whole solution is based on the long-lasting CodeMeter solution functions, we also offer, based on our license models, a time limitation of such a password. So you can say this password is only valid until a certain expiration time, so that a service technician, for example, is only allowed to use that password as long as he's working on the machine, maybe a day, maybe a week. It depends on the case. So this is an optional time limitation that we offer on base of our CodeMeter licenses, because a license is also nothing else than an authentication, and that's exactly what we use here. So let's have an overview about the whole solution, and that's what Rüdiger is telling you now.
Yeah, the solution consists of 3 parts. And one part on the left-hand side is the CodeMeter Password Manager. On the right-hand side, we have the CodeMeter Password Provider. And in the middle, we have CodeMeter License Central for the creation of the passwords and for the management and delivery of the passwords. So these are the three major, or the three parts of our CodeMeter keyring for TIA portal solution. So let's start with the password manager on the left-hand side. So and here we have the super user, or we can also call him a librarian. At this time, I need to think of the Star Trek movie where the librarian was called Atos, or A to Z, because he was managing everything from A to Z. So it was a very great idea to choose this name. And so let's say this librarian, he says, I'm defining who should use which passwords for which projects. So first he defines, I have, let's say, 3 projects, and I have 3 different passwords for the 3 different projects. Or I have 1 project with 3 different access levels, and so I'm using 3 passwords on 1 project. So he defines the different passwords, and he, the librarian, Atos, assigns the passwords to different users. He does this in License Central. So the password manager speaks with a License Central. In our basic offer, we offer this as a SaaS, as a software as a service solution hosted in our WIBU cloud. So you don't need to install something. You just download the password manager and start a password manager, and then you can create some passwords and permissions. And then everything is stored in License Central in the cloud. And then activation code, we call this a ticket, is created. And the librarian assigns this activation code to the user. So now the user, let's assume Stefan and I are the 2 different users. We take our ticket. So Stefan has a ticket. I have a different ticket, a different activation code. And we go to the portal of License Center, which is called Web Depot. We enter our ticket number. And then I see, okay, I have password 1 and 2. Stefan has password 1, 2, 3. We will see this in the sample later. And then Stefan can get all the 3 passwords. And I can just get 2 passwords into my local connected dongle. And then I can use it together with the password provider. So the password provider is a plug-in API for the Siemens TIA portal. So in Siemens TIA portal, now the passwords are available and can be used. And so these are the 3 parts of our keyring for TIA portal.
Okay, let's have a closer look on the process that Rüdiger already mentioned. So it's the cloud-based distribution of passwords. So we have the super user, the Atos on the left side, and we have software developers and technicians on the right side. All of them have a CM dongle, and they want to have now passwords that they can use for the protection on the side of the software developer, or for the decryption later on the technician side. So in the middle, you see the CodeMeter License Central as a cloud solution. This is normally used for sending licenses to customers, but as I said before, licenses are nothing else than authentications. So this cloud solution serves very perfectly also for sending the passwords in a secure way to the technicians or software developers. And this is done in 5 steps. So the first one is the technician or software developer requests a password, or the super user wants to assign passwords to some persons. And he uses a so-called ticket. We mentioned that before. Ticket is nothing else than such a code here with letters and digits separated by dashes. And this ticket, it's just a password again, can be sent by email or via VPN to the software developers or the technicians, and they use that ticket, they redeem that ticket at the License Central, and in that step they get the passwords in a secure way on their dongles. So there's a very good web-based solution to transfer the passwords with or without restrictions to the CM dongles they have. So if we have again a look on the picture before, we see here the machine builder. We have several developers, so they get a dongle with different passwords, and so they protect the source code they have implemented for the device with their passwords. Each one has another password. And on the machine user side, there can be a technician that gets one of the passwords to be allowed to decrypt or to use and to see the functional block he's allowed to see. Of course, you can leave some functional blocks unencrypted because they are not of interest, or you cannot damage something with that. But for the important parts of that, you can protect source code, functional blocks, and so on. I mentioned here dongles, but the CodeMeter technology allows several other licensing systems, and we see that here.
Yeah, so in the current solution, the current version, the CodeMeter dongle is supported. The CodeMeter dongle is a hardware-based secure element available as an USB dongle with or without flash memory, or as SD card, micro SD card, CF card, C fast card, or ASIC. So in different versions available. And it includes a smart card chip, the CodeMeter ASIC, and in this ASIC, the cryptographic keys are stored, which are used to derive the passwords for the Siemens TIA portal. And so they are stored there in a very secure way. They can be used, but they cannot be retrieved. Nobody can read them out from the internal smart card memory because it's like a small microcomputer. A second option is a CMAC license. And here we have a license file which is heavily bound to computer properties. So for instance, the MAC address, CPU, hard drive, BIOS, serial number of the battery, and from all these properties, TPM, chip endorsement key, we take all these properties together, we mix them together, put some tolerance on it so that you can slightly, smoothly change your computer a little bit, but not too much. And then this is used as a cryptographic key. And so if someone tries to take this license file or this encrypted file to a different computer, he's not able to decrypt it there because the key could not be recalculated because the properties on the second computer are different. So it's not just a checking, is this the same host ID? Yes and no. It's really cryptographic operation. So the keys are even secure in this CMAC license file, so in this file stored on a computer. Of course, the dongle has a higher security, even higher security than the already secure solution with the CMAC license. The third solution is a CM Cloud container. In this case, you need to be online, and then the container, the virtual dongle, is not on your local machine. It's in the cloud, and it's bound to your user credentials. So it's a user-based container, and you can use it from any computer as long as you are online. So you don't need to plug off the dongle, so you don't need to move the licenses or the passwords from one computer to another computer, from the CMAC container 1 to CMAC container 2. You just use the same credentials, similar to username password. It's more stronger than username password because I told you something about the password at the beginning. So you use your credentials to log in, and then you have your cloud container on your computer. So and these are the three basic licensing systems: the dongle, which is already implemented, ACT license, and cloud container, which could be implemented easily. So if we get some requests, we would could also enhance our solution with these two license types. Last but not least, we also have a license server. Currently, I don't see that a license server is a big issue for the TIA portal password manager. In this case, there is a license server with all the keys and the passwords in the network, and everyone in the same network, maybe in the intranet, could access to the license server and could use the passwords. So currently, we see this more as a theoretical use case, and so we are waiting on or for requests on this. But also, this is technically possible if someone requires this. Yeah, and these are the 4 licensing systems that we in general offer, not only for this TIA portal, but also for licensing, document protection, and so on. So, and I guess Stefan has prepared a demo, so I hand over to Stefan, and Please tell us, what did you prepare?
Yeah, let's switch to reality. So I have prepared a demonstration that consists of 3 parts. So we have the password provider, that is a plugin that is attached to the TIA portal application. We have our password manager to create and to assign licenses. And last but not least, the CodeMeter License Central that is used for managing the passwords and for distributing the passwords all over the world. I also have 2 CM dongles here in my system. So I have one for a senior field engineer that has no restrictions at all. And we have another one for a junior field engineers, and he has restrictions with no password change, no password removal at all. So that's the moment when we start the demonstration.
So we have our JFE and our SFE, our junior field engineer, and in the future maybe a PFE, a principal field engineer, so PFE Bamberg. I like this idea. So PFE Bamberg, please to the report. Okay, so now Stefan starts the login. So he starts the CodeMeter keyring for TIA portal password manager. So, and he needs to log in. And so the first thing is he will create some passwords. And now we have prepared one project. And in the project, we want to have 3 different levels, and we want to protect things with the 3 different levels. So we will create 3 different passwords. And Stefan is very flexible, password 1. And let me guess, you will use password 2 for the second password. And let's assume he will use password 3 for the third one.
No,
so the 3. So, by the way, now Stefan is this librarian, Mr. Atos, A2Z, who is just creating the passwords for his users. So the second thing is he will manage also the users. So now let's say we have the librarian, Stefan, who will create all the stuff, and we have the user, the senior field engineer, Stefan, who will get the passwords, and let's say Stefan and info@wibu.com. And we have a junior field engineer, let's call him Rüdiger, so it's me. So we create a second user, Rüdiger. By the way, you can also use my special character, the Ü, which is a special character used in German. And so it's also possible to use Chinese name or other Russian names. So we support UTF-8, so no problem with multi-byte applications. So and now he has created both users, the senior and the junior field engineer. And now let's say our librarian will assign the senior field engineer, Stefan, all 3 passwords. So he goes to the assigning password dialog and says, yes, password 1, password 2, password 3. We will not apply any restriction. And so say just OK. So now the assignment is created in License Central. And with this assignment, a so-called ticket and activation code is created. So our librarian now sends this activation code to our senior field engineer. So the senior field engineer, Stefan, will go to our web depot. This is the user interface of License Central. And in web depot, he will enter his activation code, his ticket, and he clicks next. So, and by the way, this portal is available in different languages. So if your field engineer is located in Moscow, then you can, of course, switch to Russian. So you will see something like Dobro Pashalovac, CodeMeter License and Web Depot, Dalej for click on next and so on. Yes, I learned this in school, by the way. So, but let's stay in English. So Stefan clicks on Activate Licenses. And then we see all 3 passwords are available. Stefan has already connected the senior field engineer dongle. And so he says, yes, activate license now. Or in this term, transfer passwords now. And now fingerprint of the dongle is created. This fingerprint is sent to License Central. License Central creates an encrypted update file, which includes all the keys which are used to create a password. The update file is imported in the local dongle. The dongle or this web depot creates a receipt file. The receipt file is sent back to License Central, and now License Central knows, yes, these passwords are there. So, and now let's take a look. The passwords are activated. And what does the librarian see, Stefan? Stefan goes to the password manager again, to the tool of the librarian. And we see that the 3 licenses, I take my classes, are taken. So all the licenses, the status switched from assigned to taken. So, and now the second thing is, let's say I'm the junior field engineer and Stefan will assign also passwords to me. Let's say I get the first password as a complete, so without any restrictions or with all permissions, depending on the wording. The second password, let's say I get it with the permissions, with the restriction that I cannot change or remove the password, so with both restrictions. And let's create a time-based license or time-based password. And due to the fact that it's hard to show something which will get invalidated tomorrow, that's why we will create a license which already has expired. And so we create a license with an expiration date of yesterday, just to show you what happens if I have an expired license, that it's no longer available for usage with the passwords. Stefan clicks OK. And I don't get a third password, by the way. So now I create a second ticket. So we will switch the dongle. So I will turn off the senior and I will plug in the junior dongle. So now the junior dongle, junior field engineer dongle, is connected to the computer. We go to Web Depot. We say activate licenses. We see I have only 2 passwords, 1 and 2. It's Rüdiger, also here UTF-8, so no problem with special characters. Same thing, fingerprint of my dongle, sent to License Central, encrypted update file, encrypted keys will be decrypted in the dongle, placed in the secure smart card chip of the dongle, so they are not readable. You cannot retrieve the keys from the dongle because they are stored in the secure memory. And now what we see, both passwords are retrieved, collected, and when the librarian goes back to his password manager, we see that also all these passwords are now taken. So this was the view of the librarian, his dashboard in the password manager. And we also have seen how the field engineers can activate and get their licenses. So, and now we start the Siemens TIA portal. Stefan has prepared already a project. He will open this project. And in the project, we have 3 program blocks. And we have 3 passwords. So let's just protect each program block with 1 different password, just to show you how it works. And so it's the senior field engineer with all the passwords, with all the permissions, so without any restrictions. So and he opens the program. You see the program blocks. He chooses the first block. Of course, Stefan needs to be the senior field engineer, so we need to plug in the senior field engineer dongle first. And now when we retrieving the passwords from the CodeMeter keyring, we see that all 3 passwords, yes, I saw Stefan replug the key. So the senior field is now here, and we need password 1 and say, yes, we assign password 1 to the first program block. It will compile the configuration. And as soon as this is done, Stefan will go to the second block. We'll go to know-how protection once again. Open the keyring, select password 2, and assign password 2 now to the second block. And same for the third block. We go to the third block, know-how protection, keyring, third password, password 3. Okay. And voila, it's done. So due to the fact that Stefan has the senior engineer dongle with all 3 passwords, he is now able to open all 3 program blocks. So he can open the first block, he can open the second block, the third block, he opens the third block first. And of course, he can also open the second block, I'm sure. Yeah, it works. Great. I did not expect anything else. So, and now let's switch to roles. So we will remove the senior engineer dongle and we will now plug in the junior engineer dongle. If you don't have a dongle, can I open a block? I guess no. So it means if I don't have a dongle, I'm not able to open any block. So I don't have a password, not able to open it. Great. So we will now plug in the junior, so the dongle of the junior field engineer Rüdiger, my dongle. So due to the fact that I have the password 1, I can open function block or program block 1. Great. I have the password for the block 2, but this password has expired. And so I cannot open the block. Okay, that's okay. And I don't have the password 3, so I also cannot open the password number 3 or the block number 3. This is exactly what we expected. So, and now let's assume I'm the junior field engineer and it took more time than I estimated to repair the machine. And so I'm now out in the field and I need to have access to the password 2 for a couple of days more. And so I will call Stefan. Hey, Stefan, I'm still here and I didn't finish my work. Please, dear librarian, could you give me the password number 2 for a couple of days longer? And then Stefan goes to the License Central and he gives it me for 10 days. So he really trusts in my abilities that I don't solve it in a few days. Okay, interesting. And now he gives it to me for 10 days and says assign. So it's now assigned or modified. So, and I now go to the web depot again. I just click on my licenses because I have already entered the ticket. And so I see that the password 2 is now available or modification is available. I click on activate licenses. Yes. And now the expiration date is changed in my dongle. And so now the license is, or the password is valid again. And after this, as soon as it's finished, I can now go to TIA portal and I can now open function block 2 or program block 2. Great. We have seen that I have a restriction. And so for the program block 2, I have the restriction that I'm not entitled to remove and change the password. So if we go to know-how protection, we see that I see everything. So I see that the keyring, I see that my password 2 is connected with this, but I'm not allowed to change anything. So the remove or the remove button is gray, the OK button is gray, so I cannot change the password. So I'm not able to change it. For password 1, I don't have any restriction. So I have the full rights, all permissions. And so we can go here, I can open it, of course, and I can also change it. So I can assign a different password, or I could remove the password if I want. Because I have no restrictions on this password and I can do anything. And so you see the librarian can really assign licenses, passwords in a way how he wants to do it. Different passwords for different blocks. The same password, of course, we could use the same password for all 3 blocks. So there are a lot of opportunities and he can define who is entitled to remove a password and who is just entitled to use it. And the good thing here is we have never seen any of these passwords because they are created automatically under the hood using a key from the dongle, creating this password. It's exchanged in the background between the CodeMeter keyring password provider and between TIA portal. And so the user is not able to see it. And if a user is not able to see it, he could not tell it to his friend. He could not give it to somebody else. Yeah, and this was our demonstration. This was what we did with Siemens together for the TIA portal. I guess Siemens is not the only vendor in the world who is using CodeMeter. So Stefan has a short summary of the TIA portal and then more information about other vendors who are using a similar technology.
Yeah, just a short summary of that. So with the CodeMeter keyring for TIA portal, you can create in a secure way the passwords and manage the passwords, as we have seen that in our demonstration. The passwords can be restricted by several restrictions, no change of the password, no removal of the password, and we can add, like usually in CodeMeter, we can add a time limitation on that. So that's what you have seen in the demonstration as well, that you can time limit such a password. And with the License Central, we have a worldwide round-the-clock secure delivery of the passwords, like we used to have it for licenses, because licenses are nothing else than authentication. We have a ready-to-go package, including hosting of the License Central. So a small installer for the applications on the PC side and the hosting of the License Central. And we have a test version available for your evaluation. So on request, you can ask us for a demo access to the test version using sales@wibu.com. As Rüdiger mentioned, Siemens is not the only company who trusts in the CodeMeter solution. So we started several years before with PruES, that's a German company, developing engineering software, device-independent engineering software called CodeSys. So they have also the content protection available, using that for the CodeSys projects, the source projects that you can develop with CodeSys. And they also have an execution protection, which means that software is only running on the device later on if the right license is available on the device. So you have not only a content protection on the engineering software side, you also have an execution protection on the PLC side as well. And another company we are proud of that they use our technology is Rockwell Automation with their Studio 5000 Logics Designer. They also have a content protection implemented. So they have a cloud-based portal to manage the passwords, the access rights. And with this cloud-based portal, the librarian can also create authentications to access the source code. They have permissions instead of restrictions. So with the permissions, you can view the code, you can copy parts of the code. So there I have several permissions instead of the restrictions. They use several form factors from WIBU-SYSTEMS. You see that on that slide. So starting with the large CM dongle, we have the small CM stick C, and they use for the Allen Bradley devices for the execution protection the SD cards that are available from us, because they also perform an execution protection, as I have explained it in the CodeSys as well. So a lot of companies use that, and let's see if we have any questions, because we have here the final slide.
Yeah, I have 2 questions in the chat already. I'm using an Apple with Windows VM, okay. But the Apple only has a USB-C type connector. Do you have a dongle for USB-C type? I guess that's a good question for Stefan.
Yes, it's a good question, because we are presenting a new form factor. It's the same form factor like we have for the USB. For the normal USB plug, we have this now with the USB-C type connector as well. It's called the CM Stick D or DMC that we have. We will present it at the Hannover Messe Industry. So yes, you can use that in the future as well with the USB-C type.
Okay, I have a software in Java for my field engineers. Can I use the same CodeMeter system to protect my content in the TIA portal and the software for my field engineers? Yes, of course. So the simple answer is yes, you can. And the bit longer answer is you can use the same license central to create licenses for your Java software as you use for the TIA portal password. So you can use the same license central for both. And for Java, we have a special tool. We call this AX Protector for Java, which is part of our CodeMeter protection suite, which takes the bytecode of Java, encrypts it, and makes sure that a hacker could not see your intellectual property, could not reverse engineer your code, because Java code is a bytecode, so an intermediate language, which can be decompiled easily without such protection like our AX Protector Java. By the way, we have a similar tool for .NET applications, axprotector.net, and of course for more applications like native Windows, Mac, and Linux applications. And I see already there's a next question. Does your dongle have flash memory? Stefan, to you.
Yes, we offer some form factors like the SD card, like a USB stick, a micro SD card, that also have flash memory beside the security chip that we have on board of these form factors. So yes, we support that without any problems.
So thank you very much for your attentions, and I like to say bye-bye and hope to hear and see you again next time with our next webinar. Ciao.
Yes, thank you very much from my side as well, and I hope to welcome you again with our next webinar. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.